Okay, so today we are gonna jump right into the video and let you know of what the top things you need to know before you move to Denver are. We reached out to some clients that had moved in from out of state and asked them, what are the top things that you feel people need to know before they move to Colorado? And they gave us a list, and we wanted to share that with you because we felt like it was super valuable information. You know, we've been here for a long time. I'm native, Cheryl's been here for
20 years.
20 years. And so we definitely express these things to our clients and our buyers and so forth, but we wanted to hear it from the words of our clients to know what they felt is the most valuable or most surprising thing once they got here, something they learned from us, you name it. They just gave us a nice list of what it is. So we're gonna jump in and tell you what those things are.
Yep.
Okay, so the first thing that we heard from some of our clients was that they were really appreciative to know and learn about the job market here in Colorado. Now, if you're considering moving to Colorado, you probably have already either are being transferred, you've looked into it a little bit, but you know, maybe you're moving here and you need a new job, or one of you's transferring with their company and your spouse needs a new job, or whatever.
And if you're coming from California, you don't necessarily need to make as much as you did in California to live in Colorado, because it's 30%-ish less expensive to live here. Or if you are moving here from somewhere in the Midwest or Texas or somewhere where it's more affordable to live compared to Denver, then you're gonna wanna make sure that you have a position, have a job, and you're able to, cover your bills.
Right, yeah. A lot of companies, will give you that cost of living increase. The same job title in the Midwest may make this, and in Denver it makes this. Yeah. So a lot of companies take that into account and help you with that just straight off the bat. But if you're coming here and you're, you own your own business or something like that, self-employed, you may want to consider what that's going to look like as far as the paycheck you're going to be getting to support that.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And there are a lot of flip situations in Denver. So if you're a plumber or an electrician, something in the trades, tends to do really, really well in the Denver metro area versus something that might not be as prevalent here as it is where you currently live.
Right. Yeah, I agree. If you're coming from a small town where maybe if you're an electrician, there's not a lot of demand for that. There are a lot of electricians here in Denver, but there's also so many houses, and it's surprising when you call an electrician, sometimes they can't come to see you to fix your problem for a couple of days. And so you're going to be in demand here and a lot more potential for your clientele. So that's a benefit if you're in a role like that.
Oh, definitely. And there's so many huge companies who have offices and corporate locations here in the Denver metro area.
We have a lot of headquarters here in Denver for various national or international companies.
Yep. Aerospace and tech, cable, Google, Amazon, you name it.
Yeah, and if you're in the military and you're getting stationed here, we have a lot of military bases.
That's true.
So that's definitely something that's to think about and is advantageous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You kind of so jumping back a little bit to us talking about the trades, another thing that a client brought up to us was different kind of maintenance that they had on their house here and those home maintenance costs versus living
warm
somewhere
weather
else.
Place.
Yes. So,
it snows here and it's not cheap to deal with it. So
yeah, you are self-employed and you're coming out and you want to have a snow moving business, plows, shovelers, those kinds of things. You will be in demand extremely well in the winter months, but that's a cost of living here. Is you're going to have the manual labor cost of shoveling that snow on your back, or a snow blower,
or you hire somebody to clear your driveway every time
to do it. Yeah,
unless you have a 16-year-old son and they can do
that's what you do.
Yeah,
lucky.
exactly.
I don't have that benefit.
No.
So yeah, that's something to think about. And then on the flip side of that, we see some of those, that's a seasonal position. We see some of those other seasonal positions maybe do something in the summer or in the off seasons when they're blowing out sprinkler setup, because in Colorado, one of those home maintenance things that you may not have if you come from the South or California and whatnot is we have to blow out our sprinklers every winter. So, the pipes are 6-8 inches below the ground. We freeze that deep. And if you don't, you have broken pipes when you turn your sprinklers on in the spring.
Yeah, I have actually had that happen more than once.
I think everybody that's lived here probably has, because it's happened to me a couple times. And again, I'm native, and so I should know better. But
it's just not one of those things that you don't think about all the time. And it could be September and we get a freeze freeze.
Yeah.
No, I mean early. It happens early. And,
sometimes, yeah.
And if you have water in the manifold is what it's called. Which I wish I didn't even know what that was called. But it's like $500 to replace the manifold. So
pops the bell off, and then
Yep.
you turn your sprinklers back when it warms up and it melts, and you've got like a geyser in your yard.
Oh, I've also had a situation where somebody left the hose attached to the hose bib.
Yes.
Same thing happened, and got a crack in the pipe. My basement flooded, not really flooded, but I had water in the basement, so I had to resolve that situation twice.
So yeah, those are the
Yeah.
kinds of things that when you're talking about, home maintenance, now that could offset, because I know if you live in the South, other problems that you have to maintain, spray washing your siding and so forth to get the mildew off from all the moisture and dampness, so it's definitely a trade-off, but it's definitely things that you need to know about and be aware of, so that when you are actually in your brand new house here, living the wonderful life of a Coloradan, it kind of gets dampened a little bit when you have a broken pipe or something.
Yeah. I actually talked to a client the other day about moving here, and they had to get a new car. That is another consideration for the Denver metro area, because it does snow, and
They had a rear-wheel drive pickup truck or something.
Yeah, no, they had a sports car, a rear wheel drive sports car, and yes, it just wasn't going to cut it in the winter months. So,
yeah. And you want to, we live here in the city, and while it's not awful, you still have to get around, and there are those days when you see these cars, they're fishtailing trying to get down the road because they're rear-wheel drive.
Yeah.
But you also want to be in Colorado, you want to be able to go to the mountains.
Yes.
And so you want to be able to go up there and enjoy the out of doors, whether that's on a dirt road or a snow-packed road, or just driving up I-70 and a snowstorm comes in.
Yep, absolutely. Also, with that comes the topic of car registration. So when you move to Colorado and you register your car, you buy a new car and you're in Colorado, it is so expensive compared to, well, I've only lived in 2 other states, but exponentially more expensive in Colorado to register your car.
Yeah,
So
something to definitely keep in mind. And I think
Yes.
you totally need a car in Colorado. Very few people in Colorado don't have their own car.
Right.
We do have mass transportation. We have the light rail. We have public buses, Ubers, of course, all of
Right,
that. But,
right.
the public, especially the light rail, which is, I think, used by more people than the buses even.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
It's very
Because it comes from the suburbs.
Right.
You can catch it in Southeast Aurora or Parker or Littleton.
But it's central lines, so it's not that you can get all over the Denver metro.
Right.
You usually have to, and most people, I think, they either commute to it, like if they work downtown and live in the suburbs, but they have to drive to the light rail station to then get on the light rail and drive down. Or what a lot of people do is, a lot of our entertainment venue is downtown, all of our sporting events, a lot of our concert venues, things like that. So, they want to jump on the light rail so they don't have to battle traffic. Maybe they want to have a little fun before or after the concert. And so they don't want to have to worry about driving home.
Right.
And so they, take the light rail. It's not super usable for everyday commuting to the grocery store, to Target, to your kids' schools, things like that.
Yeah.
And then also our light rail sometimes can be affected by the weather, because it's not like New York or Chicago, where a lot of it's underground. Sometimes we do have some snags in our light rail when the big snows come in. They still have to get through, and so that's not common, but it is something to consider.
Okay, and another thing that's really nice about our light rail transportation system is that it takes you to the airport.
Yes.
So a lot of people do use that feature, and you can Uber to whatever station is closest, and then get to the airport without having to pay tolls.
Or they park their
470.
car and leave it at
That too.
the light rail station.
Some of them don't allow you to park overnight.
Not always,
Yeah.
but some do.
Yeah.
It just depends. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, so it's pros and cons, just like everything, I guess. Another thing we forgot to mention about home maintenance before we got off on the transportation tangent, water is a little bit more expensive in Colorado. We do send a lot of our water out of state, Arizona and other places down south, and I'm not exactly sure if that's why, and it's very dry here. So we have reservoirs and
kind of live surprisingly
arid.
in an arid desert.
Yeah, high desert. Yeah, that's true. So You will have to water your lawn, most likely, unless you have a zero-scape, which some people do.
And we're seeing more of those actually.
Yes,
so
yes, absolutely.
that may be a good expense you have,
Right.
is to eliminate some of that water needing landscaping and put in that zero-scape. You could drop that water bill down by doing that, but to water your grass, just a standard lawn here in Colorado, Denver area, is going to cost you more than it might in some other states because our water is more expensive here, and sometimes we water ration depending on the year too. You could be put on a water ration.
Yeah, and just for example, I have a 1/4 acre lot. I have a 4-bedroom house. In the winter, my water bill is about $100, and in the summer, my water bill is about 300 plus.
Yep.
So that just kind of gives you an idea.
Yeah, most definitely.
And my son takes really long showers, but I couldn't talk about that.
My girls take decent showers, but not really long. So it's funny that the boys take longer showers than the girls.
Yeah, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah. But I think, so back to that kind of same point though, I think considering we're saying that the water's higher, I think the overall cost of a lot of other things in Colorado is actually a little less than the national average. Like I know our gasoline here typically is lower than the national average. To fuel those cars that we say you need to have if you don't buy an electric vehicle, that's a benefit. Having that lower gas price is a benefit. And I think our overall just groceries and electricity costs and so forth are, fairly average, if not a little below average. So it kind of offsets some of these other things we've talked about, but definitely something that ties into something you should know before you move to Colorado.
Yep, absolutely. And health insurance, someone was mentioning to me the other day that they were paying almost 20% less in health insurance than they were from wherever they moved from. So
I have heard that too.
That's a nice perk as well. So another thing we need to talk about, this is, I don't want to say near and dear to my heart, but I did have a very traumatic experience in my last house, but north-facing driveways.
I knew that's where you're going with that.
Oh my gosh. So this is personal, but I moved into a home here 20 years ago from a warm weather environment, and I didn't realize, and I grew up in upstate New York, so I know snow, I know weather, but in New York, it snows, and then it's pretty much like icy and snowy all the way from October until April. Well, not in Colorado. In Colorado, it snows, and then it's like 64 degrees
by afternoon or the next day. Yeah, it melts.
Exactly. And so if you have a north-facing driveway, which never sees sun, which I did, and it was like this, it basically turns into a sheet of ice that's like this thick. So don't unknowingly buy a north-facing driveway property without understanding like the repercussions of it.
Yeah, and there's some benefits. Some homes are worth that north face.
And your backyard is beautiful. You can sit on your back deck.
You can suntan practically in December because it's 65 degrees out there the next day. But you just got to know that if you do that, you need to probably go shovel before you drive over it, before you even walk out to get the newspaper.
Yep.
People get newspapers anymore? I don't
think so.
You know what I'm saying? Before you let the kids go out to build a snowman. Because you'll have these frozen feet prints on your driveway that don't melt for weeks upon weeks. So and then I think the biggest thing we need to talk about is housing expenses. So
meaning the cost of a home.
The cost of a home, right, exactly. The purchase price of a home. We are higher than a lot of other states.
30% higher than the national average. But 30% lower, like I mentioned, than California. So it just depends on your circumstance.
So you just need to know that. I think that's always kind of the elephant in the room when you talk about Colorado and moving to Colorado and the fear that people have. But again, as we've mentioned in some of these other things that we've gone through today, it could offset in other places. You could get a little bit higher paying job. You could get offsets in some of your other expenses that you had in another place you lived. So it is more expensive to live here. Personally, I think it's worth it. Love it here. And a lot of people do think it's worth it because of having the Great Rocky Mountains as your backyard. Over 300 days of sunshine in a year.
Sunnier than, it gets more sun than any other state in the country. Florida, and it gets very little rain. We do get snow, we do get hail.
But there's a statement here in Colorado that if you don't like the weather, wait 24 hours and it will change.
If that.
And it's 100% true. Like we mentioned, you get 6 inches of snow, the next day 60 degrees. So it's a give and take balancing act.
But if you do your homework and you understand what you're walking into, and use resources like Michelle and I in order to just gather data and figure out like what makes the most sense for you and your family, and if you want to live the Colorado lifestyle, we gotcha. We totally take care of you.
Yep. So those are all the great things and things we thought you should know, good and bad, about moving to Colorado, what it's like to live here. So if you have any further questions, as a reminder, I'm Michelle Wise.
And I'm Cheryl Crown.
And we are the Living in Denver, Colorado team. We are licensed real estate agents here, and we are here as a resource for you. So let us know if you have questions on anything. Put them down below in the comments. Shoot us a text, send us an email, subscribe to our channel because we give this great information like this twice a week. And check out our other videos. But yeah, thanks for watching today, and we'll see you at the next video.
See you next time. Share the love.